Greetings everyone, welcome to my deep dive of Dragons Dogma 2. So today we're going to take what we saw in the trailers, we're going to look at what was said in the conference. I'll bet there wasn't much really said in the conference. And then at the end we're going to throw in some speculation based on cut content from the original game, what was in Dragons Dogma Online, for what we could potentially see in Dragons Dogma 2. Now before we get into that, I have to do the e-baggering stuff, you know how that is. So if you like this content, hit the like button. It helps me out with the algorithm. Potentially. Hopefully. Probably not. But it'll give me a micro dopamine hit, which I love my micro dopamine hits. And hit the subscribe button if you like this content so you can be notified of future content, blah, blah, blah. You've heard this spew before. Now, there'll be chapters down in the description and pinned comment. These will help you navigate the video really easily. Maybe the chapters will be working when you find this video, but for right now, they're not, and I'm not going to get into the speculation for why they're not working, because that's not the point of this video. First, let's go over the enemies we've seen in the trailers. We have the Griffin. We have goblins.
Destiny arisen.
Of course.
We have a golem.
If he's a man mama.
This one here was hard to peg because I wasn't sure if it was an orc or what, but I have to say this one here is the Minotaur.
True arisen.
Now we have the returning enemy, the Cyclops.
Can lead us true. Long live us all.
The Medusa, which is new to the franchise. The Sphinx, which is returning from Dragons Dogma Online. And of course, the Dragon. Now for mechanics and features. Dragons Dogma 2 is being built in Capcom's in-house engine, the RE engine. Now, if you've played the Resident Evil games, Monster Hunter Rise, seen the footage for Exoprimal, seen Street Fighter 6, or any other games Capcom has shown off recently, most, if not all of them, are being made in the RE engine. It's a pretty versatile engine that's capable of rendering some breathtaking scenes, so this is a pretty good. So, beyond that, there's not much to say. The game has been confirmed to be a single-player game, but once again, you'll have AI-controlled companions called pawns. Now, you'll have a main pawn, which you'll create yourself, and since they've introduced the Beastren race, which was cut content from the original game, many of us will likely be creating cat-girl pawns. It's just how it's going to be. People need to accept this already. Now, beyond your main pawn, you'll be able to summon 2 other pawns that are created by other players, and much like the first game, this will likely reward you when your pawn is summoned with bonuses. Capcom has confirmed that the AI is greatly overhauled. Pawns will have more movesets, greater interaction with each other and the environment, and will also be able to do stuff such as show you where locations are and give you high fives after you drop an epic smackdown upon an enemy. Now, as I just said, the Beastren race has been introduced. Right now, they've only shown one variety, but there may be more later on. These are an animalistic race, and beyond that, not much is known. Vocations return, but we'll go into more detail about that later during the speculation phase, as we're going to go over what vocations were in the original game then, and what vocations were in Dragons Dogma Online for potential new content that will be coming out in the Dragons Dogma 2. Speaking of better AI, Capcom has hyped up how the monsters and characters in the game will not just be merely static, they will have somewhat of a life to them, which could have impacts on the gameplay as monsters will roam the environments, rather than just be statically in the same place every time you go through. The footage showed the town having some life to it, but not much was shown on this. We'll likely see more of this as the game is further shown. Now the map is confirmed to be 4 times larger than the original game. This was not confirmed if it included Dark Arisen, but overall that is a fairly large map. As you can see on screen right now, the original game's map was pretty large. The next feature we're going to talk about is the immersive physics. Now, in layman's terms, this means destructible environments such as the bridge we've seen. Other objects in the game will be destructible, interactable with, but Capcom has not gone into specifics. Now again, another feature we will see more of as they show more of the game. On the topic of immersive physics, there are also going to be dynamic enemy interaction. The presenter mentioned enemies' legs being pullable, but as you can see in the footage, which we'll play here shortly, you can also climb on a griffin, and pawns will also jump on top of enemies. The last two features we're going to talk about are the lighting particle effects. Now, as you can see in this scene that's about to play out, it looks really good, and this is the kind of lighting we're going to get throughout the whole game.
For only the Sovereign's guidance.
And now for the effects for the meteor spell.
Number one!
Capcom has not revealed much about the lore or story of the game, but we do have some tidbits. During the original trailer, there was a conversation about a character called a murmur versus a true arisen. Now, this could just be flowery language, but it also can show that there is some drama afoot.
If he's a mere mummer, then where might our true arisen empress?
During the second showcase, Capcom confirmed there will be two characters essential to the story. Ulrika, a bow wielder who will have a close bond to the player, was shown in the original trailer, where she remarked how you saved her from the flame.
You do not remember? Then have you forgotten that you protected me from the dragon's flame?
Nadinia is a high priestess of the Beastren, and also confirmed in the original trailer to be their empress.
Nadinia's life is in your hands, Sir Arisen.
Praise be!
This could suggest that the Beastren are a theocracy, or theocratic matters play deeply into their society, which is pretty interesting. Now, Empress Nadina, two rulers have been mentioned so far for the game. Empress Nadina, as we previously covered, is the High Priestess and also a pivotal character in the story. Brant, and I'll tell you how I know this character's name later, mentions the Sovereign of Vermont. Now, Sovereign is actually spelled weird. Rather than sovereign as in how a king would be spelled, it is spelled Sovran. Whether this is a name or just a fancy title, or maybe spell correct screwing up, translation screwing up, I don't know. Now, as I said, there's a character named Brant, and you're probably wondering how I know his name. So, as I was doing research for this video, I had to go back and look up information to reconfirm some facts, right? And I found out on the PlayStation upload, the CC names all the characters who are talking. So, let's go over which character is which in order. So first we're going to show you Brant.
Sir Arisen.
Praise be! For only the Sovereign's guidance can lead us true. Long live the Sovereign number one!
This guy here is known as Pathfinder.
You need only believe in your own destiny, Arisen.
And she is known as Wilhelmina. Yeah, I obviously butchered the pronunciation of that name.
Of course, that begs the question. If he's a mere mummer, then where might our true arisen empress?
And then finally we have Manila.
Empress Nadinia's life is in your hands.
So we know those characters are all now in the game. Next, we have the Blue Tower. Now, as you can see in the scene that's about to play, the Blue Tower can be seen in the background. This was in the original game, which could indicate the town we are seeing is known as Grand Soren. So, maybe the game takes place in the same region as the original game, but expanded as the original intent was, which brings us to the next category, speculation. Now, before going into the expansion and cut content, let's talk about vocations. Now, as you can see, these are the vocations from the original game. You have Fighter, Strider, Mage, Warrior, Mystic Knight, Sorcerer, Magic Archer, Ranger, and Assassin. And these are the vocations from Dragons Dogma Online, specifically the newer ones. Shield Mage, a defensive vocation. Elemental Archer, a healer and attacker. Priest, a healer. Hunter, pure bow vocation. Seeker, daggers, attackers. Alchemist, tank and attacker. Spirit Lancer, healer and attacker. Lance wielder. High Scepter, a top magic character. Now, some of these are objectively just going to be rolled into other vocations. For example, if they bring back Sorcerer, High Scepter will probably just be the same thing. But I include this here because it could legitimately just be a branch on a magic vocation. Like, it could just be another magic vocation rather than the more limited original vocations of the first game. And as you can see, many of these vocations are support classes. In an MMO, that makes sense. For single player, it makes less sense. But with the increase in AI to the pawns and interactions, there is a good chance we actually might see some support vocations where you are buffing, healing, and strengthening yourself and your pawns that are fighting along your side. Because with better AI, that is now a viable strategy. So, will we see these vocations in game? There are confirmed to be new vocations that were not in the original game. Whether or not they were in Dragons Dogma Online, not confirmed. As for potential new enemies, these are the enemies that were in Dragons Dogma Online. You have, some of them have already been shown, like the Sphinx, the Geogolem, or at least a Golem has been shown, so an upgraded Golem that can do more would make sense. There are new enemies like the Grand Ent, the Troll, the Colossus, the Dread Ape, the Lindworm, the Mogok, which probably would not be in this game as he is a special leader of the Orc Horde. Zol, which is a giant winged beast with ape-like features, also known as the Herald of Chaos and Destruction, might not be in this game. Witch characters, that makes sense. And new dragon skin types, including Alchemized Dragon, Behemoth, and Elder Dragon, so various dragons. Now, when we look into the map of the original game, for the scope they wanted, we can see that there was an island called the Dragon's Island. So, potentially we could have more than just one type of dragon, but we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. Now, as you may notice, many of these enemies here are large, significantly. So, in the original game, they intended there to be giant monsters, but this was cut due to budget. And on Dragons Dogma Online, these creatures were able to make an appearance, and will likely make an appearance in this game, including this giant behemoth right here. Dwarves and elves were also intended to be in the original game, but were cut along with the Beastren. Now, as the Beastren have been revealed, there's a good chance that as during the next showcase, or as we get closer to launch, we will see dwarves and elves be revealed as well. Now, as we look at the original map, the intended map, we can see the Dragon Island. We also can see the Cursed Lands, the Goblin Enclave, and a slew of ambiguous other areas. So, now again, the new map could be Grand Storm, but I believe Grand Storm will probably just be a smaller section of the map overall, and it will branch out in more directions. So even this map here is going to be outdated. The scope 4 times bigger. This here would only put it at 2 times bigger than the original, as the original was cut in half basically. So what you see on this map here is double the original game size. And this new game is confirmed to be 4 times larger. So we're going to see areas that weren't even conceptualized for the original game. So there's going to be many, many more surprises to come. And that's all we really know at this point about this game. I'd like to thank you for tuning into my first deep dive of a game. Hope you liked it. And you have a great day. Peace.